So, welcome to each and every one of you. It is my pleasure to be here with each of you and welcome you to our UCM Speakers Series, where we have the incredible honor to have Reverend Dr. Richard Jelusich, who is going to talk about the fact that we have a physical mind and body and an astral mind and body. And as we endeavor to awaken ourselves in the chakras, continue to awaken, the difference between the dimensions begins to dissolve, collapsing, merging the two dimensions, one in time space and the other beyond time space as one. This is Pura Lempuyang door. It is meant to convey that there is no wall, no veil, just the perception of one as we limit ourselves to only our five senses. So we are going to experience a journey with our wonderful Reverend Dr. J as he discusses going beyond, taking our perception beyond the five senses and beyond the intellect, beyond the emotions, to that place of oneness. And Reverend Jelusich is a past UCM president, has been a UCM minister for over 27 years. He is a spiritual counselor with clients worldwide, energy medicine healer, teacher, and author. He is the founder of the Light News Institute and his School of Energy Medicine, Integrative Chakra Therapy, with over 500 students and graduates in the US and Canada. He is lead faculty and chair of the Board of Trustees at the California Institute for Human Science in Encinitas, California. He is also the author of 2 books on the chakras and a meditation CD. So we are so honored to have this amazing man with us today. And we have a tradition on our speakers series, and that is the tradition of lighting the candle. And this candle was made especially for this evening, for our speaker and for all of us today, and it just felt like we needed yellow. And so this is an origami heart that was folded with love,
Oh,
with every fold,
lovely.
and it has little pockets in it. So it speaks to the dimensionality that I think we'll be talking about today. So we welcome each and every one of you. And I'm going to invite that we light this candle. Is everyone okay with us lighting the candle? Beautiful. And as we light the candle, may our hearts and our minds and our souls and our bodies and our spirits be open as we embrace, as we celebrate, and as we honor this precious time that we have together. And what I'd like to offer is that with a deep breath, in and out, that we let go of any of the burdens of the day, any cares and worries, and that we allow ourselves to feel ourselves totally present, totally in this moment, as we experience this beautiful evening. So, Dr. J, welcome.
Thank you so much, Janet. That was wonderful. So I'm just going to set up a PowerPoint presentation for you, and I just need a moment to also include sound. But just give me a moment here. Can you see it on your screen? Okay, here we go. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about merging the duality tonight, and I want to start off with a very short meditation. So if you're already relaxed or wearing earbuds, we'll just do something very short here. Here we go. So as we begin our journey tonight, let us start from a position of openness, where our hearts are open to receive teachings that are tailored and suited exactly to our highest and to our greatest good. It is like being on an ocean of consciousness, where you can lay back and look up at the canopy of the heavens and observe your thoughts going by like clouds, from here to there, but totally unaffected by your thoughts, just simply floating in a cosmic ocean of infinite possibilities, to go beyond your five senses and to drift ever so gently into higher states of consciousness, allowing your guides and your masters and your angels to attend, to form a beautiful sacred circle where the space where you are now is holy and sacred, is only suited for the divinity of what your path represents, your purpose, that which came you here to do. For indeed, you have always been, you are, and you always will be, whole and complete. You are whole and complete. And may the principles of harmlessness and compassion be the ever-present, ever-constant guide of your every intention, of your every thought, and of your every action. And so it is, and so it shall be. It is done. And breath in gently and deeply, and breath out. Breath in gently and deeply, and breath out. Feeling calm, relaxed, and tranquil. And when you feel the moment is right, open your eyes. Swami Vivekananda said, in a conflict between the heart and the brain, open your heart. And Yogananda said, I am a spark from the infinite. I am not flesh and bones. I am light. In helping others to succeed, I shall find my own prosperity. In the welfare of others, I shall find my own well-being. I am infinite. I am spaceless. I am tireless. I am beyond body and thought and utterance, beyond all matter and mind. I am endless bliss. So as we begin our evening, merging the duality of our being, it doesn't matter whether you're a practitioner of healing arts or just a beginner and has never heard the word spirit or chakra, it doesn't matter. But understand the possibility that you exist in more than one dimension simultaneously. These are my opinions and the results of my own spiritual counseling and research from over 30 years of doing this work. And many of my theories of the chakras, including dominant chakra characteristics. And should you have questions about books and media and things like that, that's always available to you. So how do we go through life? Which one of these people are you? Are you the one on the front that says, I don't care, I'm not steering, it doesn't matter, I'm having a blast? Are you the one that's steering but can't see in front of you and say, well, I got to keep control somehow? Are you the one hanging on for dear life? Or are you one of all three at times? So this dimension of individuation, we're going to talk a little bit about these subjects This dimension makes no sense. The third dimensional mind to understand dimensions beyond time and space, perception and perspective, qualitative perception versus quantitative, two sides of the same coin, the three yoga bodies, the overview of the chakras, how you must collapse in order to expand, or as you expand, you collapse, and I will tell you how. And another term called biological oscillation. So all these fascinating terms we're going to go through tonight, and we'll have time afterwards for questions and answers, all you like. But we're living in an amazing dimension that doesn't make any sense. And this dimension is made in such a way that it's getting you to ask the quintessential questions, not just how does something work, but why does something work? And so the old saying is the only way to overcome an illusion is to first recognize that there is one. And so fundamentally, our linear mind only takes us just so far, but it doesn't answer the really interesting questions. How do you know who you are, where you come from? So the problem with the third dimension is that we have to use the third dimensional mind to understand it. And the only way to overcome the illusion is to first move beyond your mind, beyond your thoughts. And for some, that's very difficult because conceptual thinking is not the same thing as awareness. So tonight we're creating a scaffold for your mind so that I can push you off of it. And a lot of people think, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Well, actually, you'll find that the scaffold is actually about 1 inch high and it's lined with pillows. So it's really not so much of a fall. But let's start with perspective and perception. Two of us look at the same object and we come away with a different perspective. We see the same thing, but you and I are individuated spirits. We have our own life experience. We have our own way of responding and reacting to reality. We have our psychic abilities. And two people with the same psychic abilities can still perceive the same thing differently. You add a third person into the mix, and they're still looking at the same thing, but they're going to come away with a different perspective of what that thing really is. And you can imagine if you start adding more people to the mix, your perspective on reality may not be wrong, but it doesn't mean you're the only one who might have some insight on the truth. So we live our lives, and sometimes we're presented with these conundrums, these dilemmas of, oh my goodness, look at these heads on Eastern Island. What are they looking at? And how were they made? How is it possible such hard rock could be carved when there's no tools around? And so what's the first thing that we do with our 5 sense perceptions? We look at this and we extrapolate. Based on our experience, we start thinking ahead. We go, okay, well, based on my experience, these heads probably look like this when we get down to it. And we imagine that's got to be what it is. But after that, we start digging. And we have what are called, in the spiritual experience, a divine inner revelatory experience, an awakening. And we start to see things more as they are than as they appear to be. And this is what happens when the astral body and mind and the physical body and mind start to merge. Your chakras begin to awaken. And when they do, you start to see things more as they are than as they appear to be. Well, quantitative perception is, how much do I weigh? What time is it tomorrow? But qualitative is very different. If you say, I love you, well, that cannot be quantified. It's a qualitative state of being. And the thing is that your higher sense perceptions are qualitative. They don't work in the same way as the 5 senses. And so therefore, sometimes it can be awkward. It could be confusing when your higher sense perceptions inform you, look, this is what's going on, but there's no physical proof or no physical thing to show that the thing itself is exactly what you saw. So this is where in spirituality, especially, yoga without faith, just stretching. Prayer and meditation without faith, just thinking. So faith is a muscle. And the stronger your muscle, the more you can move the intuition to begin to see things more as they are than as they appear to be. Well, why is that so hard? Because faith is intimate. Faith is personal. It is just you trusting in your higher sense perceptions to reveal to you accurately and faithfully what it is you're intuiting. Now, one of the things that I found over many, many years of teaching and over 23 years of teaching integrative chakra therapy is many of my students say, gee, Dr. J, sometimes I just don't see it. Yes, that's true, because you might not be a visually oriented person. You might be hearing oriented. You might just be clairsentient. You might just know. You might be psychokinetic, which means you feel it in your body. So when you are ever embracing any form of spiritual path that involves the intuition, then embrace the way your faculties work for you, because they all go to the same place. So if you don't see it, don't worry. Maybe you feel it. Maybe you just know, and so forth. This is a really, really important part, because I've seen so many students suffer because they thought, if I don't see it, I'm not doing it right. And for some, it just doesn't work that way. They all go to the same place. So as you awaken your chakras through your spiritual practices, your mantras, your prayers, your meditations, your chakras begin to awaken. They allow you to see things more as they are than as they appear to be. And awakening the chakras merges these several selves together. So when I was a little boy, I used to read comic books. And the back inside cover of the comic book was this page where some of them had magic tricks you could buy, and some of them had scientific experiments you could buy for kids. And one of them was Edmund Scientific. So I begged and pleaded with my mother, I think it was $3 to send this off around 1960, somewhere in there, and to buy this little thing. Well, this is called a crystal radio. And the thing about it is, there's a law in physics called Lenz's law, L-E-N-Z. And it means that if you have a coil of wire and you put a magnet through the coil, it makes an electric current. Or if you put an electric current through the wire, it makes a magnetic field, hence the term electromagnetic. So this little thing here has a coil of wire, and it has a little magnet on a threaded plunger. And when you move this plunger up and down through here, you're actually tuning into electromagnetic frequencies. And this little thing over here is an earbud. So they advertise this as a radio without batteries. And I thought, I got to have one of these. So I can remember the day I walked out onto our patio in the backyard, and I put the earbud in my ear, and I turned that little screw up and down. All of a sudden, I hear, and Aurelio Hernandez, the second baseman, just hit a pop fly to third base, and that'll tie it up at the bottom of the third inning. And I'm thinking to myself, where did this sound come from? There's no battery in this thing. What's powering this little earbud in my ear to hear an AM radio baseball game? And that's because electromagnetic energies are everywhere. Like when you put your phone to your ear and the proper frequency and the proper identity is given to the phone, it rings, right? So electromagnetic energy, we are inundated in fields of electromagnetic energy, but more to the point, we are living in a source field of spiritual energy. The difference is electromagnetic energy is related to space and time, frequency, amplitude, but spiritual energy is pervasive. It's infinite and not limited to space or time. You are automatically a localized space-time continuum event. You are automatically an aperture of the universe who's automatically psychic. Everyone is. It's natural. You're supposed to know this. You're supposed to grow. You're supposed to awaken. You're intended to awaken. So there is a place in Bali, and this is called the Pura Lempuyang door. And it is meant to convey that there's nothing on the other side. But imagine someone going to all this trouble to make a doorway that you're going to step through, and it goes to the same area where you were. It's meant to say, all my life, I struggled to climb over invisible, immovable walls when I finally realized there was no wall. All my life, I tried to pierce the veil of my metaphysical self when I realized I was already there, because if you do live in a oneness, there's no place to go because you're already there. There's nothing to find because nothing's lost. So I found this doorway to be a great example of you're already there. Paramahansa Yogananda said, and I paraphrase, one cannot be any closer to God than you already are, but you can reveal that closeness. So think of it this way. In the physical dimension, we honor time and space. We're born in this dimension. Our minds are inured in the measure of time and space. But in just the next dimension, in just the astral dimension, there's no time and space. But the you that is yourself exists simultaneously in both dimensions at once. Think of it as two sides of the same coin. And one of my main mentors, Dr. Hiroshi Motoyama, who was the president and founder of the California Institute for Human Science, CIHS.edu, he did scientific experiments that showed that there really is a unique astral body and mind that does exist. You know, Uncle Joe passes away 2 years ago, and a medium says, oh, there's an individual that comes here and does this and that. And you say, oh, that is Uncle Joe. Well, how can Uncle Joe exist as a unique being beyond space and time? So this is a conundrum for this mind, because this mind is temporal and linear, but your higher self is not. So about 3,700 years ago, the yogis in the Vedas had written about what are called the three yoga bodies, or the dimensions of reality and individuation. And they posited that there is a physical dimension where you measure space and time. There's an astral dimension that is just beyond this one, where there is no space and time, but you still have an astral body and mind. You still have chakras. You still have personality. You still have uniqueness. And even further than that, there's a causal dimension where you have a causal body and mind and chakras. The thing is that in the astral dimension, the karma is much stronger than the physical dimension, and there are still male and female. But in the causal dimension, there's still some karma, but the difference between male and female is almost zero. So most people, when they pass away, they'll usually go to this dimension. And the reason why you see two columns here is because some schools of thought use this terminology. The Vedas talked about this, but I added this because some people say, well, the personality or the ashram, they're referring to the physical dimension, the mind and the body. When they say soul, they're referring to the astral dimension, mind and body. In the monad, causal, mind and body. Now, when you have an astral body, there's no internal glands and organs because there's no physicality, but there is some form of energy distribution system, and there is some form of cognition, a form of awareness that you can have even a lifetime in the astral dimension, as some teachers talk about. So imagine you're focused on this dimension mostly because your eyes, your ears, your taste buds, your sense of smell, your sense of touch are inured in this 5 sense perception, intellect, and reality. So, you know, for most of us, we believe that that's all there is. But as we start to awaken spiritually, we become more aware of the higher aspects of ourself. But what happens actually is that as the chakras begin to awaken, you start to merge these together. That's why spiritual teachers will tell you that one of the goals of meditation is to be what you meditate on. You are it, it is you. There is no difference. So the same chakra exists in all 3 dimensions of individuation. So think of it as your solar plexus chakra exists in your physical, astral, and causal body. My healers learn how to make these alignments of chakras called axial tonal alignment. So when you awaken your chakras, you're really not ascending out of your body. You're really not leaving anything unless you're talking about astral travel, but that's a different thing. And you're not really bringing your soul into the body. It would be more accurate to say you're merging the difference between the two so that ultimately you are it, it is you, there is no difference. And we call that realization. Realization. So just a simple overview of the chakras. The root is at the base of the spine where your legs join your body. The second chakra is called sacral, and it's below the navel. The third chakra is called the solar plexus. There's also Sanskrit names like Manipura, which means the jewel, or the second is Svadhisthana, which means the original home of the self. The heart chakra, we all know that one very well, number 4. And its Sanskrit name is Anahata, which means uncharted or unbounded. This is the throat chakra, number 5. And it's called Vishuddhi, which means to purify. And we all know this one here. This is the 6th chakra. It's called Ajna, which means command. And of course, the 7th chakra, Sahasrara, or crown chakra. And we have ascribed colors. And we have also ascribed musical notes and nervous ganglia to each chakra. However, going back to the Vedas, when we look at the heart chakra, for instance, today we go into a metaphysical bookstore, or we buy a book on the chakras, and inevitably, just like that picture behind me, it shows the heart chakra as green. But one author in the Vedas says, oh yes, you know, the heart chakra is a lovely crimson color. Another author said, oh yes, the heart chakra is a cloud-like color. So it's not so much the color or the musical frequency, it is more the coherence, the pureness of the color and the pureness of the frequency that matters. So if you are observing psychically the throat chakra and you see red, then to you, it's red. But what is the quality of that red, and what does it mean to you? What does it mean? So what is a chakra? Well, a lot of people believe that the chakras are energy centers, and they're right. But there's more to it than that, because energy implies gasoline, electricity, fuel, power. But think of them more as centers of consciousness, like having 7 minds lined up more or less along the column of your spine, that they are the conduits that unify and bridge the physical, astral, and causal bodies together. And that as you awaken yourself spiritually, they awaken and they merge those bodies until eventually there is no need for any further awakening because you're already there. And chakras in the physical, astral, and causal body, not limited to time or space. And that's why it's so difficult for us, because if I point to my throat and I go, yes, Reverend Janet, this is my throat chakra, and Reverend Janet might go, okay, well, where are you talking about? So initially, it's very difficult to just simply accept at face value that chakras exist. And I had a dream about this last night. And I think my dream was about you guys. And this one guy in the dream was asking me about data because he was a scientist. And when I started explaining to him, everybody else kind of lost interest. But, you know, the human body does emit light. It really does. It emits 1 biophoton per cubic centimeter, but over a chakra center, it might be 100 to 1,000 biophotons. So quantitatively, that's nothing. That's infinitesimal. But statistically, it would make a scientist say those are orders of magnitude and it's worth studying. So there is a lot of research that's going on. Even the last Nobel laureate, I think it was last November, was talking about how it really is a non-local universe, you know, where 2 things at separate ends of the universe could experience the same thing at the same time. Now, for UCM ministers, we would be saying, well, of course, but for the public, that might be a little bit of a stretch. So our chakras are always on. They're never off. Our intuitive faculties are always on. They're never off. They may not be cultivated in a lot of people, but they're always there. So we take a psychic relationship to each other long before the mind ever takes a single thought. But most of us are not aware that our intuitive faculties are already working so well. So as you cultivate that, you actually begin to awaken yourself. That's what's actually happening, is you're tuning in to higher levels of reality, which then brings up your stuff. And so that's why sometimes awakening is a destructive process, because you start to become aware of traumas and belief systems and things that don't serve you anymore, because you're now starting to see things as they are instead of as they appear to be. So, the spiritual path can be very, very demanding. It's always good to have an organization like UCM, where we have a tremendous support group to help each other as we grow and learn. And there's a lot of wisdom keepers in UCM who are there to help the people nowadays that are incarnating in this golden age of inner transformation have a lot of tough questions. And so the wisdom keepers have to be able to say, okay, well, let's take a look at those questions. So there's a fellow by the name of Lawrence Krauss out of University of Arizona that said 74% of the universe is dark energy, 22% is dark matter, which, by the way, when scientists use the words dark energy and dark matter, that's scientific code for we don't know. And 3.6% intergalactic gas, so 0.4% is physical matter. So really, you don't matter. In other words, our higher self, the astral causal bodies actually hold the physical body in space-time. And when your body is done, that light that held your 100 trillion cells in space-time is withdrawn to the astral dimension, and the body goes back to the constituent materials from whence it came. So this is a classical view of the chakras. We've probably all seen variations of this with different kind of symbology and whatnot. And every time a yogi came along, they would add a little bit of a design in here, like maybe a sailboat or an elephant or something like that. But here is a very interesting drawing. And the reason is something you might not think. A long time ago, a yogi or a yogini sat down and wanted to sketch the human energy system. So obviously you can see the chakra centers, but you can also see all of these meridians and energy channels. Here's my point. Think about this. If hundreds of years ago, some man or woman sat down and sketched this because they were awakened to be able to observe this, not with optical eyes, but with a higher set of eyes, isn't it true that that exists right now for you and I to do the same exact thing? Isn't it already existing? Now, we may not be aware of it as we look at each other optically right now, but if some man or woman saw this hundreds of years ago and sketched it down, maybe as the beginning of acupuncture, is it not true that that exists today, right now? Imagine what you'll see as you continue to awaken yourself, to see the true being as we are. So in most people, the chakras are dormant. It's not a good or a bad thing. It's just that in most people, they're not awakened. But as you meet someone who's awakened, like you meet your average UCM minister, 95% of all communication is not verbal or physical, it's energy. And we all take a psychic relationship to each other. Scientific experiments have shown that people will tend to raise their vibration according to the person in the room who has the highest vibration. And this includes breath rate, pulse rate, and other markers that would indicate something's going on. And it's not just limited to the room, because our intuitive powers don't just stop at a wall in a room. This is called being as topos, as in topography. So as you elevate yourself to a certain level of spiritual awakening, you then represent that level. And then other people come to you because you now represent that level of awakening. So they're drawn to your light. They may not know that they're drawn to your light, but it behooves you to know that that's why they're drawn to you. Being as topos. And I want to make sure at the end of the presentation that there's time for all of your questions. I'm happy to stay as long as you are. I'm happy to answer, because I realize that some of this information you might be hearing for the very first time. Okay, so if you got a question, jot it down, and we'll discuss it at the end. And chakras can be strong, weak, excess, deficient, erratic, but in my opinion, they're never blocked or closed, because if a chakra was closed, you wouldn't be here. But again, think of chakras as conduits of consciousness. So let's say you're a healer. Well, healers don't heal, in my opinion. We are only conduits of the divinity, and the person that you're working on is actually just healing themselves. So it's a good idea for the healer to be as clear of a conduit as possible, because the best healers are the ones who get most out of the way. So how does consciousness connect? How does that work? Well, as Yogananda said, you can't be any closer to God than you already are, but you can reveal it. So you really already are connection. So when somebody says, I'm making a connection to spirit, yes, and you really are all connected, you could say, I am more aware of this connection that I already have to this spirit, because there is no disconnect. There is only oneness. There is no separation. But in the Western world, especially, we have what's called subject-object opposition. Subject-object opposition. I'm here, you're there. And so this gave rise to the desire, for instance, to conquer nature. We even say things like that. I'm going to conquer nature because I'm here and I'm in nature. Well, not exactly. You're not in nature. You are nature. You're as much nature as any blade of grass or tree or rock or fish. But we tend to think of ourselves as opposite, so that then we try to control our material environment. Whereas as we begin to awaken, we work with our material environment. So if you go build a new building downtown San Jose, okay, but if you were a Mayan, for instance, in Central America, and I've taken groups of people to study the Mayans for many years, to Guatemala, Honduras, southern Mexico, and every building is where it is, matching the telluric energies, the electrical energy, the ley line energy, the cardinal points of the compass, the celestial coordinates. It's all in alignment with planetary, solar, galactic influences, so that we would be in flow with the consciousness of all things. And that's where Vivekananda said, cease your struggles and lay back in the river of consciousness and be in that flow. And every one of us can do it uniquely. That's the trick. Don't try to do it like everybody else. You find that flow within yourself. So it's not like we're plugging wires in to make a connection. Just be aware of the connection that you already have and strengthen it through your spiritual practices and hang out with people. Why do you think people like the Dalai Lama so much? Well, he's a good dresser. He's the 14th reincarnation of himself. He will tell you he's the same person 14 times. But when you hang out with someone who's reincarnated purposefully in that way, it's like connecting or merging with a spiritual battery on this planet. Because in terms of karma, I said the strongest karma exists in the astral dimension, but the strongest ability to dissolve karma is in this dimension. So if you align yourself, let's say with UCM ministers, where two or more are gathered, right? It becomes exponential. It's in your interest to align yourself with those people that represent what you seek. And that way it becomes very, very, very powerful. So chakras are transducers of consciousness, not just energy. There's much, much more to it than that. And they're the first point of entry into the physical dimension. So in my research, they affect the 4 archetypes of the whole human being. Most people think the body. Yes, of course, the body. It holds your physical body of 100 trillion cells in space-time, but it also affects mentality, spirituality, and your emotions. That's why in the type of healing that I've been teaching in integrative chakra therapy is the most powerful healing that personally that I know. I'm entitled to my opinion because it works at the level of the chakras. For instance, your chakras convert a spiritual energy into the chi that's in your body. But the spiritual energy is not the chi. It's not the same thing. So for instance, the spiritual energy comes to your solar plexus chakra. That chakra converts it into chi, sends it to the spleen. The spleen puts it in your blood, puts the chi in the blood. So chakras are conduits of consciousness between dimensions of individuation. So as long as you have any chakras, you have individuation, because the seeds of karma, the seeds of individuation, are in the chakras. And from lifetime to lifetime, different seeds will germinate. They will grow. So again, even though chakras are beyond the reach of time and space, they represent uniqueness. And the Buddhists joke about it. They say you got to spend your whole life getting to know who you are, so at the end you can let it all go. So the chakras exist in all three of the yoga bodies. So if someone says, well, Dr. J, am I intuitive? Well, again, the chakras are not limited to time or space. They're on 24/7. They're never off. So by definition, you're intuitive, just not cultivated in many people. And that's part of our mission in UCM, is to awaken people to the truth of their potential. So if you desire a higher level of awareness, what happens if you change your perception? Well, if you change your perception, you can use your will to make a better response, a better reaction. If you make a better response, a better reaction, you're going to have a higher level of awareness. And if you have a higher level of awareness, you'll have an even better perception or perspective to make another will. Will means action, to have a better response or reaction. So this can be what's called an upward evolutionary spiral, where noticing your perceptions and your perspectives and using the power of your will to truly have faith in your intuitive abilities can cause you to have responses that then create other opportunities for even further growth. So again, we all take a psychic relationship to each other long before the mind thinks a single thought. And it doesn't matter. I have clients on almost every continent. And so in the days of Skype or now in Zoom, we'll zoom in, and it doesn't matter where they are, because distance is no factor. Every other Monday night, I offer free chakra balancing clinic to the public from 6 to 8 p.m. The next one is July 17th. Then people come on, like this one woman who's coming on for a third time. She's in England. So I asked her, I said, what time is it where you are? She said, oh, it's 2 a.m. I said, and you're zooming in from England to have some healing work? She said, sure, because we have a free clinic, which all of you are most welcome to attend. So think of it this way. The you that is yourself on a higher level, the astral body and mind, is like the body of a flashlight. The chakra is like a lens. So the physical you is actually the light from the flashlight, but the light is not the flashlight. The menu is not the meal. The map is not the topography. Yogananda talked about this when he used the analogy of the video, of the movie projector, because in his days, movies were a big thing. He'd say the light is white all times, but when it shines through the film, the actors is not the screen, but it's the light shining through the film. So the actual you, your astral body and mind, supports your physical being in this dimension for, I don't know, 100, 150 years, whatever that is for your lifespan. But your aura or your biofield actually radiates you. You don't radiate it. It holds you in space-time. So a chakra, when you look at it anatomically, looks like a donut to me. This is a donut shape. It's actually called a torus, T-O-R-U-S, or toroidal energy field. And there's a lot of physics going on nowadays with zero-point physics and toroidal energy fields, everything from energy generation to other things. But think of the center of your chakra as now, also called the 0 point, also called the God spot. It's where the higher dimensions and the physical dimension meet in what is called now. So how long is now? A second? Eighth of a second? 10th of a second? We don't know. We don't know. But if you think about the chakras as the holders of the now, The more present we are in the moment, the more powerful we are. If we have anxiety about the future, depression about the past, those two are thieves because they rob us of the present moment. But if we work very diligently to stay in the now, that's where our power really is. So when we're working in the 3 yoga bodies, the same chakra exists in all 3 dimensions. So you think 3rd chakra, physical, astral, causal. It's the same chakra 3 times. That's a difficult concept. But nonetheless, in my view, that's exactly how they work. Until at some point, maybe there's no need for chakras. So again, as you're awakening your chakras, you're not ascending out of your body. You're not bringing your soul into your body. You're actually merging the physical and the non-physical dimensions as one. So in the teachings about yin and yang, we're very familiar with this symbol. We've seen this countless times. There's a yin, which is the feminine, incoming, nurturing energy. There's a yang, which is the masculine, solar, outgoing energy. And there's always a little yin and yang and yin. However, when you look at these two, it implies union. 1 and 1 equals 2, but union implies separation. It does not imply oneness. So how about instead, if we look at the yin-yang symbol as a polarized toroidal energy field, like this. One field that has been polarized, where 1 and 1 equals 1. Interesting. Food for thought. So in my terminology, we experience what is called a co-creative conscious collaboration. What in the world does that mean? It means that as spirits, the consciousness coming through our chakras, each chakra is a center of consciousness, is actually setting the condition for circumstances and events to occur in our lives that are for our growth. Think of your chakras as your teachers. In fact, I'm doing a 4-part series in September called Teachings of the Chakras, Doorways to Higher Consciousness. So because 95% of all communication is consciousness, it's not verbal or physical, our higher self always creates circumstances where we can meet, like tonight. Something drew us together as one family of souls tonight. But I would like you to think about maybe weeks and weeks and weeks ago, your higher consciousness said, oh, I think I'm going to find out about this lecture on merging the duality and I'll make the time to go it. But there's no coincidences. There's only synchronicity. So the mutual way our spiritual nature attracts people, circumstances, and situations for our mutual growth. So as you become more conscious, you become more alert. You go, oh, this is one of those co-creative conscious collaborations where I created the healer to come into my life. You're suffering from some disease, hypothetically, and all of a sudden you find a healer. No, you set the conditions. So be alert that this co-creative conscious collaboration is happening all the time. That's why it has been said that people who are conscious are also alert. They're looking for, okay, yeah, this is symbolic. This is important. So you can train your intuitive faculties to understand why you attract the people you do, why you attract the healers that you do, why you attracted the mate that you did, the teachings, and so forth. So we collapse to expand space and time. What in the world does that mean? It means that as you awaken the chakras through your spiritual practice, it merges those three yoga bodies. So space and time begin to collapse as you expand your awareness. The two becomes one, and the illusion of separation dissolves. And you are then and thus realized. You're realized. The yogis would say something like, when you know the truth, what can affect you? So separation is an illusion. And that's really difficult for us because we live in this idea of separation constantly. But the chakras represent uniqueness. So if they represent uniqueness, it's almost like saying, well, no, wait a minute. They're representing separation. And one could humorously say, okay, the reason I have chakras is to get rid of them. The chakras are constantly giving you lessons in life so that you can continue to awaken the chakras to let go of traumas and belief systems and limiting ideas. But as the unfolding soul, it infuses these co-creative conscious collaborations even more. As you expand to expand, you collapse the difference, which means you attract even more people into your life who support your growth, because like attracts like. You're saying, okay, yes, I want this in my life. I want more of this. I want to do this. So the karmic seeds will then sprout because you're now capable of dissolving the karma. So a lot of people look at karma as, oh boy, here's a problem. Well, actually, no, because one of the reasons for causation is that you are now capable to dissolve that karma. That's why you're here. So when your karma comes up, you're actually incarnating with the necessary spiritual tools to dissolve that karma, because one, you're now strong enough, and two, you never incarnate alone. You always incarnate with other people who can facilitate the dissolving of that karma. So then you start to realize, I really am two sides of the same coin. I really am this physical being, and I really am this non-physical being simultaneously. So I wanted to mention just a little bit about biofields. Well, we have called them auras for so long. I still like the romantic word aura. But around 1994, a scientific consortium got together and said, let's make it sound more scientific. We'll call it biofield. But actually, the electromagnetic field is on the physical level, but the non-local biofield is the emanation of our being into this dimension. Again, think flashlight body and light. Your astral body is like the body of the flashlight. Your physical body is like the light from the flashlight. The light is not the flashlight. It's a product of the flashlight. Your physical body is a product of your astral body mind and your causal body mind. The astral body supports the physical. The causal supports the astral. So we are working with the non-local biofield that holds the body and mind in space-time. So as you begin to continue, or as you continue your awakening process, you begin to understand how the 7 chakras and 2 other components called the Ida Pingala and the Sushumna, those 3 are what constitute the essence of the biofield itself that holds your physical body in space-time. So the biofield is the combination of the 7 chakras, Sushumna and Ida Pingala. It's you at the astral dimension of the astral mind and astral body, and that holds you in space-time. So therefore, as I said, your biofield radiates you. You don't radiate it. And anything that has a physical body has an astral body. The earth has an astral body that holds the physical earth in space-time. There was a scientific experiment that was conducted a long time ago with a gravity probe, and it was based on 100 years ago Einstein's theory that there was a 4th dimensional energy vortex that surrounds the earth. And this gravity probe B actually demonstrated that it really did exist. But more to the point, if you study some of the research of Nassim Haramein, it is a very strong suggestion that the astral dimension of the earth is actually holding the earth itself in space-time, as it is with everything else. So I wanted to run something else by you for your consideration. Did you ever notice how a hummingbird's beak fits the flower exactly? Now think about it. These are different kingdoms. The bird is from the animal kingdom. The flower is from the plant kingdom. How do they know how to do that? And it happens on every level. It's called biological oscillation. Biological oscillation. The bird from the animal kingdom and the flower from the plant kingdom both have consciousness. They are conforming to each other to save energy. When two or more consciousness merge to conserve energy, from birds and plants to planets and stars to people, we are constantly doing this in all of our relationships with the five kingdoms, but we're mostly unaware that this is what's happening. You go to the southwest of the United States and you see those saguaro cactus, the ones that look like they have arms, and you think, how can they exist in this hostile environment? Well, because the consciousness of the cactus has conformed to the what's called the Deva kingdom. The Deva kingdom is the spirit of the land, the spirit of the water, spirit of the air. And some of those saguaro cactuses live 200 years. Biological oscillation is ongoing. And the easiest way for you to think about it is, how did that bird's beak and that flower fit precisely to benefit each other's consciousness? Now, you and I as human beings, we are always doing that all the time. May not be aware of it, but the ancient cultures knew the benefit of this merging, which in one way would actually be conforming to the flow of the universe. So as we merge the duality, we are constantly overcoming illusion from separation. And as we are constantly merging, our consciousness presents the circumstances in our lives where we have the possibility to continue to do that. So by collapsing space and time, you merge yourselves as one. Now, this sounds like a lot of information, but actually, believe it or not, you and I are hardwired to do this. If you choose a spiritual path, you can accelerate this process. But, some of your stuff may come up. So I'm going to give you a couple tools for merging. One of them is the circle of light exercise, and I'm putting in the chat my email, and I can send you this exercise. And basically what you do, we're going to do this together, you and I. A yogic breathing is a 4-part breathing. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold. And the idea of circulation of light, it's also called Shoshuten, and it's also called microcosmic orbital breathing. Many women on the in-breath would bring the energy from the perineum or at the root chakra up the front of the body to the top of the head, and then down the back on the exhale, and many men up the back and down the front. But there's no hard and fast rule. When you do this exercise, it balances and conforms the chakras. But if you're a female and you have the energy coming up your spine, that's fine. It doesn't matter. So here's how it works. You're sitting quietly. As you breath in, you can breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. If you breath in, like for me, I breath in and bring the energy up to the top of my head, and then I hold, and then I breath out and I let it float down at its own rate, down to where my legs join my body. Hold. So let's do 7 breaths. And as we do, you can experiment with which way feels more natural to bring the energy up the front of the body and let it float down the back, or the other way. Now, I do this 35 breaths in the morning and the evening, because for me, that feels like the proper number. We're going to do 7. So if you're ready, I'm going to guide you through this. Ready? And breath in, bring the energy up. Hold. And breath out. let the energy go down, either the front or the back at its own rate. Hold. Breath in, bring the energy up to the top of your head and hold. And breath out all the way down. Hold. Breath in, bring the energy up and feel it coming up either the front or the back, all the way to the top of your head. Hold. And breath out all the way back down. Hold. Breath in, bring the energy up. Hold, top of the head. And breath out all the way back down. Hold. Breath in, come up. Top of the head, hold. Breath out, let it go all the way back down. And hold. Breath in, bring it all the way up. The top of your head. And hold. And breath out all the way back down. Hold. Last one. Breath in, bring the energy all the way up to the top of your head. Hold. And breath out. And breathing going back to your normal, regular pace of breathing. It's a wonderful exercise that you can do to balance the chakras, to conform the chakras. It's very good for relaxation. I find it great in the morning and the evening, and give it a go. And as I said, I sent you my email address. So if you'd like to have that, I can send it to you. I can also upload it to the chat for those of you that are using laptops and desktops. There's another one here that's called yogic breathing, which is where you focus on one chakra. So let's pick the throat chakra. The throat chakra is very good for telepathy. Telepathy means to know that which is the character of a person, a place, or a thing. So we use the same 4 breaths, but with a difference. We focus on, in this case, the throat chakra. So when you breath in, you're thinking God's energy into my throat chakra. On the breath out, you're thinking breath out to the universe. So why would you use those 2 phrases? Well, one is on the breath in, God is all, is oneness. When you're breathing out, you're saying, and I'm one with all things. So breath in, God's energy into my throat chakra, or God's breath out to the universe. So we'll do 7 breaths and I'll walk you through it. So you're physically concentrating on the location of your throat chakra. And then on the breath in, God's energy or God's breath into my throat chakra, breath out, one with the universe, one with all things. Okay. Here we go. Breath in, God's breath into my throat chakra. Hold. Breath out to the universe. Hold. Breath in, God's energy, my throat chakra. Hold. Breath out to the universe. Hold. Breath in, God's energy into my throat chakra. Hold. Breath out to the universe. Hold. Breath in, God's energy or God's breath into my throat chakra. Hold. Breath out to the universe. I'm one with all things. Hold. Breath in, God's energy or God's breath into my throat chakra. Hold. Breath out, and I'm one with all things. Breath out to the universe. Hold. Breath in, God's energy into my throat chakra. Hold. Breath out to the universe. Hold. Last one, God's breath into my throat chakra. Hold. And breath out to the universe. And reserve or return to your normal breathing. And these exercises, if you want, you could do 1 breath per chakra. You could do 5 breaths at the root and work your way up, or 5 breaths at the top and work your way down. This is meant to be played with and see how it works for you and see what it feels like. And one other thing that I didn't mention is my wife, Michelle, and I created the Bamboo Garden Wellness Center in Encinitas, California, which is an oasis of healing and education. We have 7 treatment rooms and a number of practitioners, everything from Reiki to heart health to acupuncture. And we're always looking for more practitioners, even practitioners who will work virtually as affiliates through us. And the general email is info@lightnews.org, but I sent you in the chat my direct email, and there's the websites themselves. Now, as Yogananda said, live each moment completely and the future will take care of itself. Fully enjoy the wonder and the beauty of each moment. And now we're going to open it up to questions and answers. And while we are, I'm going to upload these 2 exercises to the chat. And I'll say thank you and bless you on the slide presentation. So now is your opportunity to ask me questions if you like.
What an amazing presentation. I just want to honor Dr. J, but beautiful visuals as well. It's amazing. So
Thank you.
thank you, thank you, thank you. And let us
You're
just
very
all
welcome.
be in this moment and figure out if we can have some wonderful questions. Mary, I see that have your hand up.
Waving my hand wildly. Yes, that was a very exciting, informative presentation, Richard.
Wonderful presentation.
Wonderful.
Thank
So, one of the things that I was trying to frame it almost a little simpler for me is that if I looked at this as a 3-step process, that I would receive inspiration would be the first step. That's the step that comes from spirit or wherever it comes. Then it would move through the chakra, which would strengthen it and help me to know how to then move forward into me to make it manifest, whatever the lesson is. That sound reasonable?
Yeah. Yeah, trusting the intuition.
Okay.
A colleague of mine has a phrase. She says, first hit, best hit. And I kind of like it. You know, it's your first intuition is probably going to be the one that's the most accurate, but it doesn't always make sense in this head. So yeah, your inspiration through your chakras, and think of your chakras as you, but centers of consciousness. And the more you stimulate them in what we call the safety way, right? The more they awaken, the more you awaken. But then what's the beauty is the more you evolve yourself, the more you then represent that level of evolution, being as topos. In other words, I don't know if I actually caught you guys on being as topos, but think of it this way. One day you're a goldfish in a bowl. Then next day you realize you're actually the bowl holding the goldfish. Then the next day you realize you're the table holding the bowl holding the goldfish, and so on and so on. So think of it, you're Dalai Lama, 14th incarnation of yourself. You're holding a reality for millions of people to evolve. So as you continue to evolve yourself, you're holding that being as topos. You're holding that reality for other people to take a psychic relationship to you. And what would be really cool is when you recognize why that person asked you the question. Gee, Reverend Janet, I don't even know what a crystal is. But then you think, okay, I understand what she's really asking me. I see. Okay, how best can I help this person to self-empower? How can I help them realize a higher level of their being? So yeah, exactly, Mary.
Great, thank you, Richard.
Yeah.
I'm writing it down. How can I
And
help this to self-empower? That's really what I, as a teacher, want to do.
yes. And thankfully, Janet is recording this, so you know you all have access to it.
Absolutely. So don't worry about remembering every detail. You know, Richard has given us permission to, record this. And so all of this will be recorded and you can look upon it again and again, because that might help to feed your rational mind and quiet it enough to receive that information.
Thank you, Janet.
And I have uploaded the chakra exercises. So if you're on a laptop, if you're on a phone, you probably can't download it, but just send me an email and I'll be happy to send it to you. By the way, a secret to download chat, if there's a lot of stuff in the chat box and you want to keep it, there's 3 little dots at the bottom of the chat screen. If you click on those 3 dots, it'll say save chat. Because sometimes people put all kinds of website information and everything on there. It's just an easy way to save the chat for later.
Impossible. But I do know.
Beautiful. Thank you, Chen Li.
Richard, I really like the slide that you shared about the chakra with the tones.
Musical notes.
Yes, last month I was doing sound frequency. So I love that chart. I'm going to get it from you. And we were talking about home tones, how.
Send me an email. I'll send you the chart.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
Yeah, I mean, solfeggio, basically, I don't know if you are familiar with it. Solfeggio frequencies basically tune to the chakra.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And wonderful Reverend Chen gave us that presentation last month. It's incredible. I encourage all of you to listen to it.
Excuse me, Rick, you said you uploaded everything. Could you tell me where you posted that so I can grab that?
I don't see it either.
It's in the chat.
No, I'm looking at the chat.
It's not in the chat.
I'm looking at it right now. The PDF is in the chat screen. It says chakra exercises, 312 kilobytes.
Did you post it to everyone? Does anybody see it?
Oh,
No.
Yes. Thank you, Corey. I posted it to Mary.
Okay.
God
Yes.
bless you, Corey.
Thank you.
Someone's got to help me out here. Hang on. Doing it now.
Thank you, Corey.
Yep.
Thank you, Corey.
Yeah.
All right, let's try it again.
I see it.
Yes.
Yes, it just showed up. Thank you, Richard.
Yep.
Okay. And if anybody misses
Somebody's
it,
got to be watching the store.
okay. Any other questions?
This is your opportunity.
Yes.
I'm making myself available for whatever you want to ask.
I had a question.
Yes, Lauren.
I know many people in my life that are curious about spirituality, and they're like, why can't I connect in like friend or family member? And they're like, it's just not working. I'm curious what you'd say to someone who told you that.
Let me see if I get this straight. A friend or a family member says it just doesn't work.
No, they see a friend or family member who can really connect in, and they're like, I'm trying and trying and trying, and why can't I connect like them?
Yeah, that's easy. They're trying too hard. Think of the feminine principle. What does that mean? Feminine principle. It doesn't mean female. It means using the power of the will to allow instead of push. This is why a lot of people miss it, because they're trying to use a masculine principle of making it happen rather than being open and receptive to allow the universe to pull you forward. Allow it to happen. Give yourself permission to be excellent at what you do, and you will be. So think of it as the forest for the trees. They're standing right up against the bark and saying, gee, Dr. J, I just can't see the tree. You're trying too hard. Just take a step back and allow it to come to you. Stop trying. Allow. The feminine principle, using the power of the will to allow instead of push. This is another reason why we're in the age of the sacred feminine, because women embody this principle. That's why you see so many women in positions of great power nowadays, because we're supposed to be in the age of the sacred feminine. So tell your friends and your family, allow instead of push, and they'll look at you like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And that may be true, but have patience. And remember, you too are emanating a quality of your being to that family member or the friend. And as they relax around you and you're very supportive and assisting, it'll come. I've had so many students awaken in the exact same way. They stop pushing so hard. They put themselves into a position of acquiescence, and it was much more simple than they were making it out to be. It's like Sri Yukteswar said, God is simple, everything else is complex.
Thank you.
Yes, Corey.
I just want to follow up on that, Rick, with what you said. Lauren, also know that it still takes a skill. Yeah, as you open to it, you don't get it all right away. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rick, but people, we're always in a hurry to get everything immediately, immediate gratification. And that's not the way this works.
You're so right. I mean, students that study with me for integrative
Mhm.
chakra therapy, it takes 3 years.
Yeah.
It takes that long to integrate that level of awareness. It takes time. It just can't. I've tried. This can't be done overnight. So Lauren, have patience. And remember, they're asking you because of that co-creative conscious collaboration. They already know you can help them.
Mm-hmm.
Richard,
So, yeah.
is that why so many people say I really got it when I was 5 years old? Because
Yes.
we're not worried about getting it. It just happens and we accept it.
Absolutely. Yes. 100%. We get older, we complicate things, we over sophisticate, we overthink, we overdo. And that's why a lot of adults fail at children's puzzles.
Ah,
Right.
Yeah. Me too. I overthink things sometimes. And I have to be watchful of that.
And
And you're
just
asking
as you
great-
said,
Yeah. And you're asking great questions.
and I would just offer, Dr. J, that when as we were talking about this, I was thinking when I'm overthinking, I sometimes need to go to nature and hug a tree or sit underneath a tree or touch some water or listen to the wind and breathe it in. And nature kind of helps me personally. It's a grounding that gets me out of that overthinking very quickly.
Yeah.
And I will add a point to what you're talking about, Janet, a lot to do with frequency. Sometimes, like what Richard says, if we push too hard, the frequency, if the two people are not together, it's not harmonic. And you're going to have disharmony and conflict. So, Lauren, like what Richard said, patience, let it be. Sometimes that person will rise or down or wherever you are to connect. And it will happen.
For a reason.
Yoda was right. Don't try, do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. We do tend to overthink things. And we try to second guess spirit sometimes, and that usually fails. Believe me, I've tried to second guess. I've probably made every mistake you can possibly make in a spiritual life, but I'm not always the sharpest crayon in the box, so I have to work hard at it.
Work hard at not working hard, right, Dr. J?
You have to make effort to make it effortless. So more questions. How did you like the little short meditation? Was that fun?
Loved it.
I do full moon meditations every month. I think August 1st is the next full moon. I do solstice and equinox meditations. And so if you go to my website and you're not signed up on my website, you're more than welcome to. We have our Monday night free healing for the public on the 17th and 31st of July. So every 2 weeks on a Monday night, you're more than welcome to join us. I and my practitioners, and Mary and Tom, they're graduates of ICT. And we love doing the work. We love it's service work, right? That's what we're in this.
Right, to do. But I have to say, Richard, that this refresher, or this, it's more than a refresher, because we did study with you for the 2 years and I learned a lot. But this was even more enriching, the way you were talking about some of the things today. So I feel like it's grown, the understanding has grown from it. So thank you so much for this.
Well, it's an honor to sit in the same virtual room with you guys.
Aw,
I mean, there's so much light coming from you, especially when we're devoted to service work, because I don't think service work was meant to be that it is, but it isn't easy. But your reward is in the Dharma. Now think of it again. I'm going to repeat myself here. The only way you can really help other people, truly help others, is to evolve yourself. Because as you continue to awaken yourself spiritually, being as topos, you then represent that level of spiritual awakening, which is non-local. It doesn't stop at your living room or your classroom. It goes out to the entire universe, because there is no distance in this universe. There is none. It doesn't matter if you're in Mars or in some other galaxy. That means nothing. Nothing. You really want to help others, just be good to yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Let yourself evolve at your pace. Don't be trying to compete with anybody else, but be in that natural flow that your heart already knows. And you will have helped many people.
Wonderful.
Yeah. You see, I'm just waiting for questions. I'm happy. You can close this anytime you want, Reverend Janet, but
Oh, no.
I'm
I'm
just making
enjoying the
myself
energy.
available. I'm making myself available to you.
And I'm thinking, go ahead.
I was going to say, I guess I'm just putting this out for validation, I guess, or your feedback on it. But I got in my prayer work recently, I was told to pray for people. Initially, it was told to pray for Putin. I said, come on, God, I don't even like him. He's surrounded by the dark forces, and the message I got was that that's who you need to pray for, because the light softens the dark forces and allows him the opportunity to make some change. And then I thought, did I make that up, or does that hold some validity in your experience, Richard?
I learned a long time ago, when you pray to God for somebody, you always pray for their highest and greatest good. You don't pray for what you want for them, but rather to help them to live in their highest, most noble self. Then you're not putting any of your own karma into it. You make it your idea of what they should be, rather than, we each have our own lifetime. And the yogis say, in the end, it's between you and God. It isn't between you and anybody else.
Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, the fact that you pray for world leaders is very powerful, Mary. And I don't patronize.
Thank you.
Yeah.
good.
So a song is coming. Is that okay if I share it?
Of course.
In the turning of the sun and moon, be gentle with yourself. As we turn into our day and night, be gentle with yourself. Open up your arms to your very heart and hold to this truth. You are enough. Be gentle with yourself.
Oh,
Beautiful.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank-
It was lovely. Something I can learn from being gentle on myself. Inevitably, there will be some questions as if you choose to listen to the presentation again. So I always like to make myself available. So therefore, you can never contact me. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Of course you can. But, one of the things about approachability is, asserting yourself to ask the questions, be bold and say, I don't understand what you said, Dr. J, when you talked about this. Well, then ask me. What have you got to lose? You want to know something? We're offering this, and you've got these amazing UCM ministers around you with all these wisdom keepers. Ask lots of questions. Lauren, your friends, your family, tell them, ask lots of questions, because then you will co-create the people that can facilitate the answers.
Dr. J, we're very lucky today. We have 3 of our ministerial students, and they're going to be become certified ministers in August. And that's Christine and Lauren.
Are you going to webcast it?
I said Kevin. Corky's going to say, did you say Kevin? Yeah, I said Kevin.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to talk to the expert over here. Corky, are we going to webcast it?
Of course.
Of course, she says. Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to watch that.
We'll zoom it. Zoom it
Yeah.
in, and then it'll
Yeah.
also be on our website.
Yeah, it'll be on our website also.
Okay.
On our-
Yeah, I get CCL.
Uh-huh.
I get
Good.
those. I get the letters.
Yay!
Yeah,
Thank you.
congratulations in advance, licentiate ministers to be.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful journey. You'll never regret it. I was became an ordained minister in May of 1995.
Good.
So just a couple years ago.
Truly.
And, I've
All
just
right.
spoken to one of the ministers that's in a wonderful Reverend Dottie's, group, that has said she has been a part of a spiritual community that holds great heart for her, but she's not felt so lovingly accepted and belovedly held as she has in our UCM community. And I just want to share that. She's given me permission to say that in a public way, that, she's dedicated her life to this other spiritual practice and still is involved with it. But that's the wonderful thing about UCM, is we don't ask you to give up one thing to take on another. We embrace you where you are.
Yeah.
And she has just said it's been a great comfort to her.
Hey,
And like being able to come home to that safety.
And Corey just said that take about a week to post this video, but one of the things you can do is make the video available to people who haven't seen it and still request a donation to UCM to support.
And that I do. I put it on the very end of the video. That's why it takes me time to sort,
Yeah.
put things in, do what I need to do. And I need to make sure everything's clear and concise. So,
Sure.
Janet, I know I can see from the candle you're getting ready to close this.
Oh, no,
Oh,
I just
okay.
brought it towards to enlighten everyone, to
Okay.
ask those questions that are in your mind and in your heart. We have until 8:00.
I thought so.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. No, this is just an invitation.
Yeah, yeah. And I do encourage everyone to ask questions. I tell everybody, if you don't ask the question, you'll never get the answer. Yeah,
Yeah. You don't know if you don't ask.
right? Don't know if you don't ask. And if a person has a problem with you asking a question, they're not the right person for you. There are everybody on this meeting definitely answers questions in a very timely fashion and a very loving and comforting fashion. So please be sure that you ask. Yeah, and like Rick said, that things will be coming up about this topic. It's a wonderful topic, by the way. Rick, I was listening. I just I don't like to I get busy doing multiple things. I don't want everybody else watching what
Of
I'm
course.
doing, but I'm auditory, so I listen. Yeah, so
Of
thank you.
course.
And thank you for all your great wisdom. You have so much to share, and I know this is only a very, very small piece of what you
It's
offer.
pretty much everything.
Only on this little tiny subject.
That's right. One subject. Yes.
Wait till I call Michelle and tell her you're done. Yeah, so
Mm.
I want to personally thank you for coming in and doing this and offering your great wisdom to especially the 3 students that are here and to everybody else, because we forget. We're only humans, we do forget. And so to have a refresher course of this, to bring us back to center, to bring us back to who we truly are in our heart center, it is very, very, very needed at this
Yeah.
time.
Mhm.
That's very appropriate. to
It
do
is
this.
needed. And the community of ministers and healers is so
Mhm.
needed, especially post-pandemic,
Mhm.
with all of the mental illness and the
Mhm.
violence and all of the other things going on.
Mhm.
Those
We
people
need
are
to
going to find you,
mobilize.
and they're going to
Yeah.
be looking for comfort and growth.
Juliet, you have something, my love.
Yes, I want to thank the whole gang of you for being here this evening, because I just knew I needed to be here. I just knew it. It was telling, I was being guided, in other words, to be here and to listen to all of what was said. And it was wonderful and very much to what's going on with me right now, because I've known about the chakras a long time, but it seems like it's like coming to me to get busy and learn more about it and do some healing with it. So thank you very much.
You have a email that I put out occasionally that advertises the events and the meditations and the workshops that I do. So you can always go to my website if you want to be on the email list, then you know what to do.
Uh-huh.
And our goal at UCM is to take everybody who has events coming up like Rick, and get them posted on our calendar, so that if you miss it on one location, you always have it on another. It's our way of honoring and supporting. Corky does a great job of bringing you CCL up, but we just actually need to add it to the calendar. But we want to be able to offer community to everybody, so I thank you, Rick, for sharing as much as you do.
My pleasure.
Hey, Rick,
Yeah,
this is Dottie, and Corky and I are going to be in your neighborhood September 19th. Are you going to be home?
I don't know. I can take a look.
Yeah. We're going to be in Oceanside and Fallbrook.
Yeah, should be.
Okay, good.
Yeah, my honey will just be coming back from Hawaii on the 19th, so
Good.
Mm.
I won't be there, but she will. So yeah, that's great. We'll have to get together. Yep. Any other questions or comments? Or do you feel pretty much complete? Especially the licentiates to be? Okay. It feels pretty much complete, and I want to extend my gratitude and thank you, especially to the officers who are serving UCM right now, because it is a very selfless, demanding effort to do it well. and you do it well. So you have my gratitude and my appreciation.
And thank you, Rick, for all your support all the time to the whole UCM board and to the
Mhm.
community. You've always made yourself available to everybody, and I appreciate that because it gives
Thank you.
me some place to go and talk. So thank you.
Sure. All right.
Okay, well,
So maybe Reverend Janet close us.
Yes. And I just want to invite all of us to take a nice deep breath and just take it in. Take in this whole moment that we have had together. Take in this whole experience. Take it into your heart and into your body and into your mind and into your energy field. Drink it in like a cool glass of water. Drink it in and let it fill you up till you're filled with overflowing energy, love, compassion, gentleness, delight, and joy. And we offer to our Creator in all of the ways that we know you, Creator. We thank you for this moment, for this sacred moment, for us to feel, experience, know, and realize that we are one and that we are holding the ground for healing to happen in the world, and that it starts with us. Thank you for that infinite abundance of energy and love. So it is.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody. It
Thank
was a
you.
pleasure.
It was great.
Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Right.
night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Love and gratitude. Thank you, Juliet. Thank you, Reverend Donna.